Final hour overdrive continues. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker. Online, tsn1050.ca. Bryan Hayes, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. We've got Steve Phillips coming up here in just a moment. Jays are off tonight. Back in action with San Diego in town. Juan Soto, your boy. These eyes, the best batter you've ever seen in your life.
He has been hot.
Yep.
Ish lately.
But the team, not so much.
No. And Tatis is hurt, and it's not great.
Yeah, like between them and the Mets, two most disappointing teams in baseball, and they mirror each other. San Diego's 44-50, Mets are 43-50.
And what's the common denominator?
Huge payrolls.
Yes.
Massive payrolls.
Yes.
And it's done nothing for them.
Well, let me ask you this, because the Mets are a little different, but the Padres are a good example. Do you have any reluctance now, seeing the way that this has worked out, of giving really young players, and even not young players, these forever contracts? Like Xander Bogaerts has just been
I know.
Manny Machado's, he's been good, but he's not
Machado's been good. He was a good find, but now they've re-upped with him.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. And now, you and I have talked about the greatest hitter that's ever lived, Juan Soto, and his next contract. I don't know, what I'd feel like Aaron Judge, that contract just started.
Right. And look at him. He can't even get on the field this year, which is a gamble you're always going to take with someone who's over 30.
Yeah.
In baseball. Ohtani's next. Ohtani's 30.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to give this guy a long term, probably the biggest deal in league history to a guy who's 30. Trout's 31. It doesn't mean they can't still play. Of course they can. But mileage, it counts for something. You get into your 30s, you're just not paying for prime time anymore.
No. But even the younger guys, let me ask you this, to bring it more back to Toronto. Would you give Vladdy a 10-year contract right now?
Probably not.
Yeah, I'd be
I think it would be a sound. The thing is, he's still young. You're getting 10 years of prime. I wouldn't lose sleep over that.
But he's the only way you're doing that is if you're paying him a lot, right?
Well, the only reason he would do it is if you're going to pay him a lot.
So that's the question. Would you be willing to pay whatever it takes on that kind of deal? I don't know.
And at this point, you don't have to. Because you have him under control, right? Bichette, they locked up to a 3-year deal. That's going to walk him towards free agency. That's going to be a conversation we'll get to, in a couple of years. But right now, you got cost certainty. You know who he is, what he is, and you love it. 3 years in his prime, Bo Bichette. Figure out the rest a little bit down the road. It can work both ways. That's what makes it difficult to be in management in pro sports is you got to make that call. And it's a gamble regardless of which way you go, right? It can be a gamble. If you give a guy too much too soon and it blows up in your face, or the counter to that is you could have paid a guy relatively low amounts of money and he turns into a superstar. Look at Atlanta and Acuna.
Yeah.
Acuna could have a 40-40 season. 40-40 in 2023.
He might get there soon.
Absolutely, he's on pace. He's on pace to do it, I believe. The guy's making $15 million or something.
Yeah.
He signed for $100 million over 10 years. That is a phenomenal decision by Anthopoulos to convince him to take that. And then you look at other examples of other players where they should have given the deal. They should not have allowed them to play it out. You can come up with countless examples in this city alone. You should have found a way to make the deal happen before everything blew up in your face. But that's the nature of sports. And it's always a gamble, regardless of who you get, who you pay. All you can do is do your research, have faith in who they are, have faith in their work ethic, their commitment to winning, and roll the dice.
It's just in baseball, you can go however long you want. In hockey, you can only go 7-8 years. Mm-hmm. Basketball, 4 or 5 years. What's it in football? You can go as long as you are.
Yeah, you can go as long. Mahomes signed a 10-year deal, I believe.
Man, it's just when you get up that long, that's a long time to bet on someone.
It's a big, big gamble. It's a big, big commitment.
I was even thinking about this. Obviously, I've thought a lot about it. You've thought a lot about it with Matthews' next contract. Actually, if I was both player and team, 5 years actually might be I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Well,
It
and
might
he's
make
got
more
another year
sense.
left on this current deal.
Yeah, so then it's 6 more years. Like,
Yeah.
then you're taking him to like 31, I think.
Right.
Yeah, maybe
That's a long time. Yeah, I can reason with that. You can read that. That's not inconsequential. Like that, you're getting everything out of him in
the
his
whole
prime.
prime.
You're getting the whole prime.
Yeah.
Now you're paying a premium for it. Like that's
But you're also not buying 31, 32, 33.
exactly. You're paying for a guy that is probably going to give you that value.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd like it to be less. Clearly, everyone would in a hard cap system. But you're getting full value of a guy who's 25, 26, 27. You're getting great production if he stays healthy. The next one, 31, 32, that's a different story. Here's Steve Phillips, our TSN MLB analyst. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. Good to be with you guys this morning.
Yeah, you too. Hey, this afternoon. You're where are you? You're like halfway around the world or something, aren't you?
I'm literally halfway around the world. Yes, I'm in Bali right now.
Well, it's great to have you on, and we love that you're a committed analyst, and you'll always pick up the phone for us. Believe me, we appreciate that. Well, the Jays are off this morning; they're not playing, but they're coming off a sweep of Arizona. They've won 8 of 9, and it's been a consistent theme on this show today, Steve. Is the mojo starting to pick up, and people are starting to get confident, and you're starting to look around the rest of the American League, and you're like, not a lot of guys scaring me out there, not a lot of teams scaring me out there. Do you get the impression the Blue Jays are feeling that mojo themselves and starting to think, you know, you put together a couple of months here, it could be go time in the fall for the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I agree. I think that I think if you're going to look at the fear factor, I honestly believe that many of the teams out there would fear the Blue Jays come postseason because if Gosman's obviously got to come back, make sure the side's okay, and I suspect he will. But even if Manoa is not Manoa, I still think teams are going to fear the Blue Jays because of what Barrios has been this year, because of Bassett and what he's done, and because of this offense and what they could be on a given. If they get hot, they're a really, really scary team because they're a good team. They've got the talent. The Oakland A's got hot, won 7 games. This team is very talented, and they're playing some really good baseball right now. So if it comes down to fear factor, I think teams would fear the Blue Jays come postseason. And yeah, I'm with you. I think they're playing some of the best baseball of the year. It's similar to the timing last year after they made the managerial change. They started turning on when Schneider came in. But I think a lot of times the calendar, players remember the calendar. And, guys who can't hit in April never hit in April, but when the calendar turns to May, they all figure out they can hit again. And it's the same thing. We saw the Phillies starting to turn it on right now in the National League, like what they did last year after the struggles early in the season. And we're seeing that for the Blue Jays now, too, playing some of their best baseball of the year.
Well, you look at where they're at coming off this off day. They got San Diego in town, and they're obviously dealing with Gausman. As you mentioned, he's dealing with that side issue. But they're going to go with Manoa, Barrios, Bassett in this series. So Manoa gets back on the mound, and he's back home for the first time since that Florida stint. That's going to be a huge story tomorrow. Let's get to it today. I thought he looked really good in Detroit. Like, I thought he looked comfortable. I thought he was bouncing on the mound. He was throwing strikes. They got him out in time before anything imploded. This will be a different beast. Now you've been shut down for a while, and you're coming home. What would you expect out of Manoa tomorrow night?
Well, I still think it's uncertain. I liked his last start, and you put that on the back of the start he had at AA, and you can start to think, okay, maybe he's figuring things out. Now, if Detroit had taken advantage of him in that first inning when he was a little bit erratic, when his emotions were overcoming his mechanics some, and he was missing spots and leaving some hanging sliders there, the Tigers didn't take advantage of that. The Padres, I suspect, will. If you make some of those mistakes, they're going to deposit it over the left field wall, over the right field wall. But the time he took to get through his mistakes allowed him to get back into a rhythm, allowed him to get back into some confidence, allowed him to really attack the zone. So I think it was 19 out of 23 first pitch strikes. So the mental thing that he needed to overcome was stop worrying about how to miss bats, just attack hitters and throw strikes. He did that part very well. So there's certainly progress there. This will be a challenge, and the challenge isn't going to be can he keep pitching great. It's when he gets knocked around a little bit, what happens then? Because what happened when he was going so poorly in the year was things spiraled out of control. There will be an inning where he's going to give up 3 runs. It's going to happen. Even the best pitchers do it. And when that happens, does he come out the next inning, ball one, ball two, up and into the right-hander, pulling his slider off the plate, find himself in trouble? That will be the indicator about whether or not he's really getting back on track.
Steve, Hayes made a very impassioned plea for the Jays to go after Juan Soto.
Hey, why not? Throw him in.
Well,
there,
yeah,
too.
get
I'll
him in the
take
mix.
Soto.
Hayes would like the Jays to, if the Angels are willing to trade Ohtani, to make a pitch. I'm wondering, from your perspective, what kind of package in that hypothetical could they actually put together? Because I look at some of the other teams who we think would be interested, and I kind of think they could probably put together better packages. Do you think the Jays could compete in that kind of transaction?
One of the things that hurt for the Jays was some of their younger prospects struggled early in the season. And either going to the next level was a bit of a challenge, and they're pushing them a little bit. And so, I think there will be other teams that can definitely put together a better package. I think Texas can do that. The Dodgers can do that. The Yankees maybe can do that. The thing is, too, for the Angels, what are they looking for in return? Because it's one thing to say, I want them. It's another thing to match up with the needs and wants of the other team. And they're going to want a lot of major league ready talent. And so you look at it and say, well, the Jays don't have a lot of pitching of young guys that are necessary major league ready, because they would have called them up earlier this year when Manoa was struggling and sent them down, right? And remember, we went through all the list of names of guys that, they could bring up this guy and that guy, but they're not sending Manoa down because they're worried about what they're going to bring up. And then you start looking at young major league ready position players. I think Otto Lopez isn't the kind of guy they're looking for in return. They're looking for an impact young star in return. So, now Biggio could be a guy going back on a trade. Left-handed bat, multiple positions. He could be a piece that could go back. And really, for the Angels, with Trout and with Rendon and the money they already have spent, even losing Ohtani, they're not going to do a complete rebuild. They can't. But you've got Trout, and he's only going to get older, and he's only going to get less productive. And so they're going to need major league ready talent. And I just don't see that the Jays have that sort of package to put together, nor would I really make that deal if I'm them. Because I think that they can make the playoffs as the second wild card team at the very least, and this year without Ohtani. And, to give up and mortgage all of that future when you're already going to make the playoffs and you can win the tournament and one guy's not necessarily going to turn you over. I love him. I think he's great. He's the best pitcher and the best hitter available in the market. I just don't see that. And here's the thing. It's also not a Mark Shapiro, Ross Atkins kind of trade either.
No, not generally. But they also are in a position here where they got the new stadium, or at least the new additions to the stadium. And like I said, you're looking at a situation here in the American League where nobody scares me. Like that's a bigger part of the issue here, I think, is like, why not go all in and be like, we're taking this? Like, Baltimore does not scare me. The Rays have basically been a 500 club for 2 months. Yankees I don't think they're even going to make the playoffs. Who scares you? And I get it. Shapiro and Atkins and their history, they're not in Cleveland anymore, I guess is what I'm saying. You've been here for a while. Get cooking. And that's and a part of it is from a fan perspective, admittedly, Steve, the idea that this would be an incredible buzzworthy move, and it's a full rental, right? Like, I'd love them to stay long term. I'd love them to pony up the money. I don't think they do it, and I'm not sure Ohtani wants to be anywhere close to the East Coast. But the idea of bringing in a left-handed power bat, he'll immediately step in. You push Belt out of the lineup, and he probably steps atop your rotation. You got him into Gausman, into Bassett, Barrios. Even if Manoa is a wash, you're covered. Like, for me, it's just everything across the board would be phenomenal.
Yeah, look, he's a great player, and you'd step to the front of your rotation or right there with Gausman. He'd be a force in the middle of your lineup, maybe your best hitter with the way everybody's playing so far this year.
Yeah,
that includes Bichette and Guerrero. And so the base, the insertion of the type of player, right, would make sense. It's just, are you going to give up your entire farm system to do it? And major league talent of whatever level they would want. They'll want Pearson back probably in the deal. They'll want young controllable players back in the deal. Is that a deal that you can end up making and then justify what you're going to look like for the next several years? Excuse me. it's a bold move. There's no question about that.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know necessarily whether or not it's something they have any appetite to do, and I don't know that they would. In fact, I would bet not, knowing how they operate.
I think you're probably right on that. I'm not holding my breath, but I'd love to see it happen. And I'm not convinced the Angels will do it anyway, the way that they operate. And if they feel like they can re-sign him, or they want to re-sign him, and they feel like if they keep him, that gives them a better chance, they probably won't flip Ohtani anyway.
Right. I guess. I don't know.
They should.
They can't possibly believe they have a chance to sign him because they would have signed him. And so, there's just doesn't seem to be any sort of discussion or appetite for that to happen. So I don't see any way. Plus, here's the thing that the factors that matter to Ohtani. Winning is going to be one of the things in free agency that he wants to sign with a team that gives him a chance to win. The Angels are not that team. They weren't that team with him. They're not making, if they don't trade him, they're not bringing in any other talent that can play around him. It's going to tap them out financially for sure. You got an owner who's out the door. Plus, so when it comes down to that, it's not a great fit, the winning part. Then it comes down to money. There will always be one more Dodger dollar and one more Met dollar and probably one more Ranger dollar than there would be Angel dollar. And maybe even Seattle getting in, and maybe even San Diego getting in. And the Giants are desperate for a superstar player, and they weren't going to stop for Aaron Judge where they did. If they had to offer him more, Judge just decided to go back to the Yankees, they would have given Judge more. So they're not going to be in that level financially. And then location. So location works, but so do the Dodgers, and they've checked the other boxes. So do the Giants, and they've checked the other boxes. And maybe the Padres and potentially the Mets. So geography is not a factor for them, and the Rangers not a factor. So it just doesn't seem to me the Angels have any chance of re-signing him. It would be malpractice not to trade him. And here's the thing. You may not get what you want, but you got to trade him anyways and get what the market says his value is, because it's malpractice not to do it.
Well, Steve, how do you set the market when he's basically two players, and like you said, he's the best pitcher available and the best hitter? How do you set up a trade like that?
Yeah, I think you let teams make offers rather than you asking for things. You let the market dictate where teams are willing to go, assuming that their offers are going to be better the more you discuss with them. But I think you keep repeating, best pitcher, best hitter, best pitcher, best hitter, best pitcher, best hitter. You're getting two players right here, and so we expect to be paid in trade collateral for two players worth of value here. And so, anytime somebody comes back with three or four prospects, you say, wait, you're not understanding. This is the best pitcher, so that might work for that part of him, but you're also getting the best hitter. Where's the rest of it? And I think you just let teams keep countering, and then you pick the team where you got the best overall package, and then you try to negotiate that up.
Well, it's going to be an interesting week and a half, 2 weeks. As for where the Jays are at, again, they're winning ball games. Their bullpen has really, it's been ratified. I mean, their numbers are really staggering in terms of how effective their bullpen's been. Romano obviously banged up coming out of the All-Star break. Doesn't sound like that's going to be long-term. Gausman doesn't sound like it'll be long-term. If Manoa gets it back on track, I mean, obviously you're looking to add here, and I'd be shocked if they didn't, Steve. But it seems like the Jays are in the best possible position they could be compared to where they were, earlier in the season, where there seemed to be more fires that needed to be put out. Now it doesn't feel like they're necessarily leaking oil as of right now. In fact, they're winning a lot of ball games, and again, rotation's been good, bullpen's been pretty good. They're hitting. All of a sudden, they're getting some big hits when need be. Things are turning around. Yeah,
they look like that team we thought they could be. Baseball is so interesting, right? So, 2 weeks ago, we thought, what's wrong with them? What's going on? And now it's like, wow, look at them. Nobody's better than us right now. The other name out there that you're hearing attached to him is Marcus Stroman. Stroman's going to be an opt-out at the end of the year, having a great season, like a 2.88 ERA, I think, with the Cubs. He's a name that's been tied to the Jays, too.
Are you buying that?
We know.
I can't see it. I can't see it.
Yeah, I think that they've got to explore everything. I don't know necessarily that it would be the fit for me to bring him back to Toronto, even though he's pitching great. It felt like at the end it was a little bitter. Remember, he wasn't overwhelmed with the PR department and doing media, and he was back. There was part of that list that they didn't want to talk to certain media members, and so it seemed like that it was time to part ways when they parted ways. but time can heal, and 2 months of a playoff run with a highly energized, highly motivated potential free agent Stroman, understanding that he is now going to show people what he can do in the biggest moments, he will be on his best behavior. Look, he's not a behavior problem. There was just some bitterness, it felt like, at the end. It was time to part ways there. But, 2 months of him would be good for both sides. Both sides would be on their best behavior. And it is about winning, and Stroman can certainly elevate his level of play. So I can understand kicking the tires there. And, they're going to have to make sure that it's the right fit for their clubhouse, too, though.
Always appreciate you taking time, especially this morning, Steve. Thank you for this, buddy.
You got it, guys. Happy to do it. Good to talk to you.
There he is. Steve Phillips joining us here. And again, it's obviously the afternoon, early evening here, but he's halfway around the world where it happens to be the morning. And he mentioned Stroman. We're going to make an adjustment here on the fly, something to chew on. Brought to you by Boston Pizza. This summer, whether you're in Moose Jaw or Moncton, there's a BP patio near you. Join us for a long lunch or a late night and see you for a pint on the patio soon. So we were asking online, should the Jays be all in for Shohei Ohtani, even if it's just as a rental? And we got a lot of reaction to that. But what about as Marcus Stroman? That is intriguing because there is a report out of Chicago, a reporter that covers the Cubs, saying that he's hearing the Jays are linked to Stroman.
Why are you not in on the Stro Show?
It's not that I'm not in. It's that what I heard on the way out was that they felt they had to get him out. Like they felt that he had to go, that he had overstayed his welcome, that it's not that there were clubhouse issues necessarily, and I can't report clearly what happened, like definitively why it got to that point, but it felt like Shapiro and Atkins made the decision, it's time to move on from Stroman. And I guess that's what I'm saying, is that are the two guys that decided that's the end. He's got to go, going to bring him back. I think Marcus Stroman would be all in on coming back here. Like he would be going crazy if he came back to Toronto. He's got the skyline tattooed, I think on his leg or on his arm. He loved being a Blue Jay. Fans generally loved him. I mean, he was somewhat of a polarizing guy. He had up and down seasons here too. But like when he hit the scene, it was massive. And remember when he blew his knee out in spring training and he returned in September, I remember he made a start. I want to say his first start was at Yankee Stadium on the road. He had a great outing. And then he got the ball game 1 of the ALDS, got it game 5 over David Price. I think he's made for the moment. I think it would cause a huge stir in Toronto. I would say, I think if Atkins and Shapiro feel that it's not going to be, their clubhouse is in a position where they can handle it. He's a big personality, right? He's really big on social media. He's got a comment and an opinion on everything. And if he got here, it would cause a huge stir in terms of the media jumping on it and talking about it and what he's all about. But if they feel like he can handle it, the clubhouse can handle it, and he can help them win, then I think they should look into it. I think they should. But if they feel like it's just the personality or it's just not going to work in that clubhouse, then and if that's why they got rid of him or allowed him to move on, then I don't see it being a situation where they circle back.
Don't you think the clubhouse is now at a point where you would think they could handle it? Like it's kind of a veteran, not kind of, it is a veteran clubhouse. Like you have Springer and you have Kiermaier and you have Chapman. And
it definitely is in the rotation, right? Like with Gausman and Bassett. Barrios is not young. Kikuchi's not young. If Hyunjin Ryu is back in some sort of capacity, he's not young. I don't know. It basically comes down to the way Atkins and Shapiro felt when he left. Did they change their mind on him? What was the reasoning behind them feeling like there's no future with Stroman? Because they were turning things over at that point, but he was still a young pitcher. Like he was still a guy you could see sticking around as a part of the future, and they moved on him. And it was noisy around him before he left. It was very noisy around Marcus Stroman, and it would be very noisy again when he got here. But based on what he's been doing on the mound, the guy's had an outstanding year, and I don't have any doubts that the moment would not be too big for him. Question is, where does he fit in your rotation if you make the playoffs? Like if Manoa returns to form, it's a massive if.
But you can't, right? I think you got to take that out of this, don't you?
Okay, let's take him out. Let's pretend that Manoa just is not an option.
Okay.
Gosman starts before him.
Yep.
Does he go game 2 or is it Bassett?
I think it's Bassett.
Bassett, and
But
then is it Barrios? Like Barrios got a 3.50 ERA now.
That's the conversation. But you have the conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think
probably Barrios, but then like if Barrios isn't pitching well at that point.
Yeah. We'll see. We will see. All right, so we got Chad Kelly coming up. This is a guy who is playing really well right now. Argos are 4-0. A lot of injury issues with quarterbacks around the Canadian Football League. Seems like every other day there's an email coming in like this guy's done, that guy's out long term. Chad's been cruising. The Argos have been cruising. We'll catch up with him. Get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. So Ryan O'Reilly was on First Up earlier this morning. Was asked about leaving Toronto, taking the deal in Nashville. We'll try to get to that. We'll play it. We'll get to it a little bit later this hour. The Argos are feeling good, man. They are feeling good, Jonas. They are 4-0 in the season, and Ryan Dinwiddie just got himself an extension. That's always a good sign. Early in the year when the coach is getting some scratch, wonder if the players – you think the players care about that? They must be happy for their coach.
Just like you being happy for someone you work with. Right?
Absolutely. I'd be ecstatic for them. Always. Always. Here is the starting quarterback for the Argos, Chad Kelly. How's it going, Chad?
How you guys doing today?
Doing well, man. You guys, a lot of buzz with your coach getting that extension. I mean, how do the players react to that kind of stuff?
Well, we gave him a round of applause in the team meeting a couple days ago before the game, and he told us it was done way before the season started. So, I guess it just hit the media, but we're happy to have him as a coach. We think super highly of him, and he definitely leads us the correct way.
Yeah, you guys are off to a great start. 4-0 in the season. What are the vibes like around the room? Like when you got a winning room, how much fun is it to show up and go to work every day?
Yeah, it's definitely, an experience that not many people get to feel. It's very hard, obviously, to win in this league, and obviously to be 4-0 is even harder, and it's going to keep on getting harder. So, everybody's still happy, but we're all on edge, though, right? And that's why I think it keeps us going, keeps us motivated each and every day. We want to obviously do as much as we can throughout the week to prove to people that, hey, we're still the champs, we're still here. And, I think as long as everybody still keeps motivated, still works hard and makes, the right decisions on and off the field, we're going to be really good.
Well, you mentioned the Grey Cup, and I think with any championship in any league, sometimes you hear about the hangover, right? Like, could there be a Grey Cup hangover? Clearly, based on your record, that has not been the case. But how quickly was that addressed once you guys got into camp, the idea that, last year's last year, you reset, and you guys got to prove you're the real deal basically every week moving forward?
Yeah, it's good for guys to understand that, hey, we're the champs, and, we're still the champs, right? But every day you got to come in and work even harder. It was kind of addressed day one. We're like, hey, we're not talking about it. We don't want to see anybody wearing anything about it. So it was kind of like, hey, we just got to keep on working hard. And I think as this season kind of gets rolling and keeps on going, guys still have that in the back of their mind that was the funnest week of their lives and funnest time. And it's so hard to get there, but to win it obviously is tremendous. And I think guys are still so hungry. And, we bring in new guys that didn't have that taste in their mouth. So, it's kind of rolling off to those guys like, hey, we want to get back there, keep on working hard, and we're all going to do it again.
Chad, I'm curious about your nickname. Where did you get your nickname Swag?
I guess from the song back in high school. I guess I kind of made a name for myself in high school that, some people decided to make a song, and, it has stuck ever since.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one, man. You got to look back on that thinking, thankfully, they didn't come up with some other song or some other handle that gets stuck to me that has no cachet, that no one wants an attachment to. Like, swag is basically all you can ask for as a pro athlete.
I mean, you're not wrong, but when you're the starter, you got to go out and prove yourself to be able to hold that nickname up.
Right, absolutely. With Chad Kelly starting QB for the Argos, so you're obviously having yourself a great season as well in terms of where you've been throughout your career, how you came in last year, and what you brought specifically down the stretch in that Grey Cup win, and carrying it over this year. What has clicked for you up here in the Canadian Football League?
I'd say there was a point in time in camp that, my coach really kind of slowed things down and, got us in one certain formation, and another formation goes, hey, this is exactly what a defense can do. They can bring these two guys from here. They can bring these two guys from here. Your guys are going to look hot. They're going to either, run a quick out. They're going to run a hot. They're going to look. They're going to do different things. But that's all you need to really pay attention to, because we know that you have the arm, you got the talent to know what's going on. And if you hone in on being able to see, the extra guy that's blitzing, because in the Canadian League you have a plethora of coverages, but there's so many little intricacies that they can do. And when a team runs cover zero, you got to be really prepared for it. And otherwise, you're gonna be seeing stars if you don't get prepared. So I think that kind of was something in camp that made it click. And obviously we have a fantastic team though, man. I mean, we really do. Fantastic wide receivers, running backs, O-line, coaches are making the offense, to my liking, exactly what I do best. And, I have some input every week on what I like and what I would like to see. So, I think it's a combination of everybody. It's just kind of everybody's gelling together at the right time.
You guys are rolling into Hamilton this weekend, the Battle of Southern Ontario. Those crowds are going to be wild. There'll be a lot of Tabby fans, clearly, but a lot of Argos fans making their way down to Hamilton. These are the cool games, right? Friday nights, under the lights, biggest rival going. What are you expecting this week?
Yeah, it's going to be a dogfight. We said that last week. Anytime it's a conference game, it's going to be a dogfight. Those guys are rolling this week, and we got to make sure we bring the intensity. We got to be physical on all three phases of the game. Defense is going to have a tough time. They have a lot of explosive people. Defensively, who we're playing, I mean, obviously C-Ed is a leader over there. Therm can run around. Simone makes plays. The back end is an aggressive bunch, and obviously their D-line is one of a kind. And we're just going to have to be ready for whatever they throw at us. We know that, second time is always going to be harder than the first because they're more comfortable with what we do and what we run. And, we're going to get their best shot. And I know all our guys are excited to get an opportunity to go in a hostile environment and prove who we are.
With Chad Kelly, quarterback for the Argos. So you look at what's been happening around the CFL this year. We referenced it earlier this hour, Chad. I'm not sure this is something you want to focus on too often or hear about, but it's been really unfortunate for quarterbacks throughout the league. Like a lot of, starting QBs, even backup QBs going down. I mean, it's the nature of the sport, nature of the position, but you look at the way you're playing 4-0, what do you make of all these injuries to all these starting QBs around the league right now?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to see. I wish, obviously the best for all those guys. And, it's a tough game. It's a physical game, as we know, right? You're putting your body on the line every single day. You're definitely blessed to keep on doing it and do it for a long time. But, I think you gotta just take care of yourself. Some things you can't control, but when it's time to get down, you get down. And, live off the field, too. You got to make sure, you're not only watching film and practicing, but you're recovering as well.
Well, best of luck this week against Hamilton. Off to a great start, continued success. Really appreciate you finding time for us. Thank you for this.
Thank you for having me. Go Argos.
You got it. Chad Kelly of the Argos. You look at it. Trevor Harris was carted off this weekend. Masoli's out for the year with an Achilles. Bo Levi Mitchell's been out. These are big names, in the premium position in the league that are getting banged up. So I'm not trying to send any negative mojo out to Chad or anything. It just seems to be a big topic every single day in the CFL. So hopefully he stays healthy and the Argos keep cooking because they're off to a great start. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later this hour. You want to hear this Ryan O'Reilly clip from the morning show?
Yeah.
Where he was on First Up this morning, O'Reilly, and he was asked about, his decision to leave Toronto or at least take the job in Nashville. Take the deal in Nashville, go to Nashville. The reports had been out there that the Leafs were trying to make it work with O'Reilly. I think he could have had a role here with the Leafs if he wanted to stay. And this was the back and forth with Korolnik, Kolyakovo, and Ryan O'Reilly earlier this morning on First Up.
No, I wouldn't say it's the ultimate decision there. I think there's so many things that come into play, but I think that is a factor as well. It's not. It is different. It's something that I did enjoy for the time there, but I just felt it was better to be somewhere else, and there's so many great things that do come with that, though. It is. I think that team is amazing, and the pieces they added this year, they're going to be right there contending for it, and it is an amazing place. But like everywhere, there's two sides to it.
So he was asked about the reports that maybe he didn't love playing here or being in the fishbowl or whatever, and that's basically what he's indicating. That it wasn't the main reason, but there's pros and cons to every situation, and maybe he wasn't overly comfortable being Ryan O'Reilly of the Maple Leafs living in Toronto, and he wouldn't be the first player to do that. He won't be the last. What I will say is I think there's another angle to this, and it's not about the Leafs. It's not about the media, the fandom, the superstardom, the fact that everywhere you go, there's probably going to be people that know who you are. It's that this is a massive city, and if you're going to play for the Leafs, you're probably going to live downtown. And I think,
do you think that's true? I don't know if that's true.
Really, how many guys do you know that live?
Live in Etobicoke or live.
Yeah, but that's still in the city, though, Jonas. Like if you're, I'm talking country. I'm talking the middle of nowhere country, is what I'm saying.
All right,
and that's what I'm talking about here with O'Reilly. Is he's a country boy. Like he and his, I played with him at the Pro-Am. Unbelievable guy. Like great guy. His brother Cal, great guys. They live on acres of country. And I think that doesn't come up enough either when you're talking about, what people are looking for, and if they have families and if they have kids. And I don't know where he's going to live in Nashville. I don't know where he lived in St. Louis. But
maybe
Toronto, like there's certain spots, New York, Toronto, LA,
King City.
What's that?
Just go live in King City.
Okay. No? And what? Drive an hour to get to the rink and an hour and 20 minutes to get to the. But that's the point, Jonas.
Yeah.
Like I know you're laughing about this, but I'm being serious. That I happen to know where he lived. He lived in the city when he was here, and I don't know if that's necessarily exactly what it was. But that doesn't come up enough. Like Toronto is massive. And some people are just not wired to be in a city. Forget playing for the team.
I think that's true.
It's just like.
But TJ Brody is from a farm too, and he's fine. Yeah. I don't know.
Everyone's different, Jonas. Yeah. You're fighting me on this, and I don't really understand why you're fighting me. The fact is, if you from the rink to find country, you got to drive a long time in Toronto.
I would think that there are a lot of factors. If you had, and that was not a pun intended, but it was a good one.
The factor.
But if you listen to him on the last day of the season, you could read on it. He didn't say it, but you could see he wasn't coming back.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't sound like someone who, he was talking, I think he kind of said they, and it just didn't sound like he was ever going to stay. And honestly, I don't know if it would have been a good idea. A 4-year deal for $4.5 million for a 32-year-old who, I don't know. I wouldn't have signed up for that.
No, that's the thing. In the end, I don't know what the Leafs were willing to pay him anyway, and it's a new administration. Dubas is the one that brought him in. It's probably in the best interest for them not to have another guy over 30 making money on term, right? Yeah. Who's not fleet of foot. He's a really good player, really smart player. Would be an effective player. But I think them turning it over and bringing in speed, bringing in Domi, Bertuzzi can move, and try to bring in youth, I think that was important. And I think from that standpoint, I agree with you. But I'm just saying, it generally when you hear, oh, some guy doesn't want to be in Toronto, they think, oh, it's because of the fishbowl, which probably factors in as well. I'm sure that is a part of it. Or, oh, it's the media or whatever. It could just be guys would rather live in the middle of nowhere and drive half an hour to the rink in St.
I guess
Louis.
I'm just disputing the fact he would have lived downtown because he was a rental, right? Like, he's not going to get a place for 3 months. You know what I mean? And if you want to live here, you can find a place that's quieter. You don't have to live downtown.
Yeah.
You don't. Like,
No,
you're right.
don't,
You do
but
have to be committed to drive.
I'm
but
just, exactly. Of course, you could live an hour and a half away. You could. But it's a long ways before you get to the middle of nowhere in the greater Toronto area.
Yeah.
It's a long way. It's a beast of a city.
Yeah, and on game day, obviously, you couldn't make that drive. You'd
Well,
have
that's
to
another
stay.
thing. You have a 10 a.m., 11 a.m. skate. You're going to drive an hour and 20 minutes. And
No,
then,
you get a little hotel.
well, exactly.
There you go.
Possible. All right, come back with our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Reds, Giants. Reds got swept by Milwaukee over the weekend. The Giants are one of the best teams in the league, especially on the road. But you're getting plus money now with Cincinnati. Plus money at home. They're coming off a sweep. I think they're good enough, talented enough to realize they've got to bounce back.
I like
Plus money, Cincinnati at home. I like it tonight. Rays Rangers under 8.5 runs. You got McClanahan back. Yes, the Rangers put up numbers, but I think you're going to see a bit of a pitching duel tonight. The Rays offense, the Rays have been struggling themselves, but total's not too high. You don't have to pay any juice. 8.5. I like the under Rays Rangers tonight. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. All right, Jonas. How
Can
are
I
you
ask-
feeling?
Well, speaking of best bets,
Yes.
as you know, I'm a bit of a golf. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know very much.
Borderline savant, though. You're getting there because you saw full swing.
I'm invested a little bit.
Yes.
Who, if I wanted to bet on someone for the Open, who might be like a pretty decent pick? Besides, like, I see the favorite is Rory.
Right.
Is Jordan Spieth like a good kind of like? No,
I don't know. I don't see him winning this. If you're talking outright winners,
I want to win.
yeah, that's the problem. Like, we had Curtis Strange on last hour, and he's like, once you get past the top 4 or 5 guys, that's where you're going to find value. You get no value right now for McIlroy, Scheffler, Rahm.
Yeah.
No value, and that's the problem. You bet them, and the odds just don't add up. So I think you go to that next wave. I haven't seen what Cam Smith is going off at, but he won the Open last year. He's been playing relatively well on Live. Yes, it's Live Golf, but I think he just won the last Live tournament or the one before that.
Mm-hmm.
His numbers are starting to look good. He's still, I think, the best putter in the world, and he knows how to play this style of golf. I would look at Cam Smith as a value play, and then you're getting into – can Cantlay finally do it? Can Schauffele finally do it? Hovland's had a really good year. He's European. Is it possible? Shane Lowry's been playing okay. He's an Open winner of the past. I know I'm rattling off names here.
No, this
but
is helping me.
yeah, that's kind of where I would look, Jonas.
Now, I did my research. I don't think someone's won back-to-back Opens in a while.
Then that would make it difficult for Cam Smith. Very difficult.
But someone has to do it at some point, right?
Well, that's why. Like, I'm looking at Scheffler here, and I don't know what his odds are. I can't imagine they're
They're not good.
8-1,
Yeah.
maybe 9-1 on FanDuel. But he's going to get an Open. Like, he is so good. He's playing so well, and he's going to be in contention. And from a gambling standpoint, especially an outright, what he has done for the past year and a half is been in every tournament.
Yeah.
So you get to Sunday and you're like, this guy's got a shot, right? Yeah, he might have to shoot a 63 or a 64, but he's in it. And that is there's a lot of value in that.
That's what you want.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in that. The fact that the guy's always going to be in contention and one of the last 2 or 3 groups to go out on Sunday. And he's going to win majors. He's going to win a lot of majors, and I think he'll get one of these at some point. And he played well in Scotland this past weekend. He finished top 5. So he's got the talent, the game to play anywhere. I could see Scheffler closing the major season with a major win here.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go, Jonas.
All right.
All right. Well, Jays are off tonight. Back in action tomorrow. Juan Soto, your boy. Wonder where he's staying tonight. Are you going to go look for him? Are you any pictures of Juan Soto maybe at the Eaton Center tonight? Is that possible?
I'm excited to watch him. I like the Padres. I like watching that talent, but it just hasn't come together.
No. Huge disappointment.
Yes.
They're out of it. They're done.
Costly disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's like when the GM sits down with the owner, that's got to be a very difficult conversation.
Like, buddy, how many wins?
Yeah. What happened here? We went all in for these guys. You paid Bogarts $250 million or something.
Yeah, and I think he's over 30.
Yeah. Good player. Premium position.
Paid for you.
Not getting your money back. Yeah. It's not working for you. All right, Jonas. Good seeing you, man. Thanks for doing this.
Likewise.
There he is, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. Carol Waglin will be in here tomorrow. Jays Padres will tee that up. We're getting closer to the Open Championship as well as we look forward to that on Thursday. Thanks to everyone for tuning in today, everyone from behind the scenes for helping out. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.